Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome from me from Germany Trade and Invest headquarters in Berlin. As Rainer just said, my name is Rob Compton. I'm a project manager and investor consultant at Germany Trade and Invest, and I'm responsible for the areas of energy efficiency in construction and in industry, as well as smart cities. And today I'm going to quickly say what Germany Trade and Invest does and how we can potentially help you. And after that, I'll give an overview of the industrial energy efficiency market in Germany before looking at the major drivers, the support, and some of the incentives that are available, as well as possible business opportunities. After that, I'll hand back to Rainer for a short Q&A session. So Germany Trade and Invest, or GTAI, is the Federal Economic Development Agency of Germany. We're 100% owned by the Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy, and the agency has four main tasks. Firstly, we market Germany around the world as a fantastic place to invest and develop technologies and to do business. When doing this, we have a special focus on the federal states that formerly made up East Germany. Today, these are known as the new federal states. Thirdly, we support businesses based in Germany that are interested in accessing international markets with detailed reports from our network of 50 offices around the globe. And fourthly, we provide business location consultancy services for international companies that are interested in setting up a presence in Germany. And that's the team that I'm on, and it's the service that I expect is of most interest to you. This is our range of services for international investors. It's also on our website, and which you're welcome to visit, and there's a lot more detail there. But for now, let's take a look at the current situation in the energy efficiency market in Germany. This graph shows the lead market for energy efficiency in Germany. At the bottom, in the darker blue, we can see that the market for cross-sector components had a turnover of 53 billion euros in 2013. And this is expected to grow by 5.4% per annum to reach 99 billion euros in 2025. The market for energy efficiency in buildings, shown here in light blue, is around half the size, with a turnover of 26 billion in 2013, and this is expected to grow similarly to 46 billion by 2025. Meanwhile, energy efficient appliances accounted for 19 billion in 2013. And in pink at the top, you can see that energy efficiency in production processes is expected to grow the fastest at 7.7% per annum, from 1 billion in 2013 up to 3 billion in 2025. Now, according to very recent figures from DENEF, that's the German Industry Association for the Energy Efficiency branch, total sales in 2015 totaled around approximately 135 billion euro, which is slightly ahead of the curve predicted here. So all in all, the outlook for the energy efficiency sector in Germany is extremely positive for the coming years. Now, as in many other countries, Germany has certainly dispelled the myth that economic productivity is necessarily linked to an increase in energy consumption. And we can see here in blue that the primary energy consumption has fallen slowly since the early 90s. That's in part due to the effect of German reunification. But the GDP has increased dramatically in the same period. If we look at some energy efficiency indicators, we can see that Germany's made great strides in improving the efficiency of the country as a whole. Energy intensity is shown here in pink, and the energy productivity is shown in green. Germany is now a third more energy efficient than it was in 1990. In 2014, just 4.8 gigajoules of energy were used to produce 1,000 euros worth of goods, which is 3.3% less than in 2013. And if we correct for weather and stockpile effects, energy use still sank by more than 3% on the previous year. If we were to look at electricity consumption against GDP, there was a fall between 2013 and 2014 of 4.3%, which was due in part to improved industrial processes and efficient household appliances. Nevertheless, there remains a lot of untapped potential in Germany, and energy efficiency increased by 1.6% between 2008 and 2014, but that's less than the 2.1% that's envisaged by the federal government's energy concept. Nevertheless, these are very good results in international comparison, although I appreciate I'm talking with Danish people today, so I have to be careful what I say. Of course, changes in primary energy consumption can be attributed to a number of factors, In addition to weather and demographic changes, GDP per capita and the energy intensity of the economy as a whole all play a part. And here you can see that the factors are quantified individually. The bars show the change in total energy consumption that there would be if only one factor were to change while the others remain constant. And the graph shows clearly that the reduction in energy consumption between 2008 and 2014 was indeed large, in large due to improvements in energy efficiency. Despite the effect of factors that increase energy consumption, such as population growth and higher GDP per capita. As I mentioned, Germany's international standing in terms of energy intensity is very good, especially considering the industrial nature of the economy compared to, for example, that of the UK. So what's driving this progress in Germany? Let's take a look at some of the major drivers. The biggest factor here is the cost of energy in Germany. Put quite simply, the cheapest kilowatt hour of energy is the one that you just don't use. The high and rising cost of energy in Germany makes efficiency a strategic factor for German industry. Companies can gain cost advantages, and so being efficient means having a competitive advantage. In Germany, it's important to distinguish between residential and industrial electricity prices. These here are grid prices, and I'll talk about the difference in a moment. But for now, you can see the development of the price of electricity for German households in green, and we're currently at around 29 euro cents per kilowatt hour. And industrial electricity is shown here in pink. And you can also see the clear increase in price over time. And the graph shows a single line here, but there's actually a big spectrum between 11 and 15 cents, depending on a number of factors, such as consumption levels. Residential oil, shown here in blue, and gas in grey, have remained more steady, but still show relatively high percentage increases, as you can see on the right-hand side there. Here's residential electricity in international comparison. As you can see, German households have the second most expensive electricity prices in the EU, and the EU average is shown here in blue. It's a similar picture for industrial electricity. For the vast majority of companies, electricity is comparatively expensive, normally between 11 and 15 cents, which makes investments in energy efficiency measures very much worthwhile. However, there are a few industrial customers that pay much lower rates, as you can see here. So technically, there are some companies in Germany that pay around 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is extremely competitive internationally. But they must demonstrate that they require a huge amount of electricity, face high levels of international competition, and fulfill a range of requirements, such as having an energy management system in place. And this then enables them to be freed from the EEG surcharge and various taxes. However, the vast majority of industrial companies are paying the higher rates, between 11 and 15 cents. And this is a complex topic, and I'd be more than happy to send you more detailed information about that, but please just let me know. So for German industry, gas prices are also in the upper range compared to the EU average. Anyway, that was a quick look at the price of energy for businesses in Germany and what is the major driver of energy efficiency measures. To a large extent, it's just simple economics. But the second major force driving the market is government policy and regulation. Germany was praised this summer in the 2016 ACEEE International Scorecards when it took top place. The report ranks states according to 35 policy and performance metrics spread over 4 categories: buildings, industry, transportation, and then overall national energy efficiency efforts. Germany scored the most points in the national efforts, buildings, and industry categories. Coming first in this annual ranking highlights the fact that Germany has highly progressive policy in terms of energy efficiency, and this is a major factor that's really pushing the market here. So let's just look at one small area of policy. Energy management systems are particularly relevant for large enterprises. On the one hand, there's greater potential for cost savings. On the other hand, these are the companies that stand to benefit the most from discounts. Energy-intensive manufacturing companies that are EMAS or ISO 50001 certified only pay a reduced EEG or Renewable Energies Act levy. And in order to take advantage of this, the company needs to make an application. And the graph on the left shows the share of 50001 certificates by country. And you can see that there's a clear lead here for Germany. And by comparison, the UK is in second place but has 10 times fewer certificates. There's a caveat here that these figures are from 2014, and due to new regulations from 2015, the 47% share is now likely to be much higher. You can see the rapid growth in numbers in the graph on the right-hand side, from just 42 certificates in 2011 to 3,400 in 2014. Again, this number is now much higher, as the revised Energy Service Act requires non-SMEs to carry out regular energy audits by a qualified expert. And random checks are carried out to ensure compliance with this, and as we'll see, funding is available to assist businesses. Let's take a step back and zoom out a little, metaphorically speaking, and look at the overall direction of policy in this area. You're probably familiar with Germany's Energiewende, which I think Rainer mentioned at the start, if my understanding of Danish is to be trusted, or that's Germany's energy transition policy, but you might not be familiar with what it actually involves. There are a lot of numbers on this slide, but let's just focus on the numbers I've outlined in pink at the top there. The main target is to reduce CO2 emissions by 40% by 2020 and by 80% by 2050 compared to 1990 levels, which I'm sure you'll agree is a very ambitious goal for a highly industrialized economy. So let's look at the progress so far. Here you can see GHG emissions in Germany according to source since 1990. Today we're talking about industry, and those emissions are shown here in yellow. There's been a significant reduction since 1990, despite the growth in GDP at the same time. And meeting the 2020 target shown here is going to be a big challenge. The 2050 target is also shown here on the far right there. And in November, the government passed the 2050 Climate Protection Plan, which includes new sectoral targets for 2030, which are shown here. And as you can see, industry will be expected to make further contributions to greenhouse gas emission reductions in Germany. So let's come back to the Energiewende targets. There are two ways in which the government aims to meet the emissions targets as shown at the top. The first, and the one we hear about the most in the press, are the efforts to increase the amount of renewables in the overall energy mix. For example, we can see that the aim here is to have 35% of electricity come from renewables by 2020, and that target is likely to be met. However, today we're looking at the second area, energy efficiency measures, which are made up of both an increase in efficiency of 2.1% per annum, as well as a reduction. And the major target here is to reduce primary energy consumption by half by 2050 compared to 2008 levels. So let's look at progress in this respect. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's been progress in reducing PEC, and there is a downward trend. Nevertheless, hitting that 2020 target is going to be difficult. Now, the National Action Plan on Energy Efficiency, or NAPE, this was announced back in 2014, and it's the key framework policy for achieving improved energy efficiency, along with the Energy Efficiency Directive and other EU legislation. Now, the plan was it declared energy saving to be the twin pillar of the energy transition, on a par with the rollout of renewables. Now, most experts from the business community and environmental NGOs applauded the publication of this policy document, which puts a lot of emphasis on creating the right conditions so that efficiency can become a business opportunity and thrive without the need for too much financial support. Nevertheless, the action plan includes a wide range of funding and incentives programs. So let's take a quick look at some of those programs now. As you can see, the amount of federal funding for energy efficiency measures has increased dramatically in recent years, from 100 million euros back in 2006 to 317 million euros last year. And this is 110 million, to 317 million euros last year. And this is a trend we can expect to see continue as those efficiency targets loom nearer. So the first of the many programs I would like to highlight is the SME Energy Consulting Program, which is operated by BAFA. It offers grants to for energy consulting and the accompanying implementation of energy efficiency measures for SMEs in manufacturing, commerce, and also in services. And the grants cover 80% of consulting costs up to 8,000 euros. The program is guaranteed up to the end of 2019, but this could well be renewed. The second program I'd like to highlight is also from BAFA, and it provides support for highly efficient cross-cutting technologies and SMEs. It provides funding for investments such as replacements or new purchases for system optimization, as well as for individual measures such as electric motors and drives, pumps, ventilators, high-pressure air systems, heat recovery, waste process heat utilization, or even the installation of plant equipment. And grants can be for up to 150,000 euros per site for technical systems under certain circumstances, or for up to 30,000 for individual measures. And it's interesting to note that this program is aimed not only at companies but also at contractors. A program that's causing quite a fuss at GTAI is the KfW Development Bank's Waste Heat program, which was relaunched this year. Unfortunately, time's quite limited, so I'll just fly over this one quickly. But needless to say, perhaps it's worth saying that if waste heat is used externally to the company, then repayment grants, extremely generous repayment grants, can be paid out, especially to SMEs. There's one other program I'd like to highlight, and that's the Step Up competitive tender for companies that are looking to save as much electricity as possible. And the ideas are submitted by the company or the contractor, and they are then in competition with each other. And the ideas with the best cost-benefit ratio are awarded the funding. So the first round ended on October the 1st, so it'll be interesting to see what the winning ideas were. And there's going to be 2 rounds held for this every year, and there are 300 million euros in total in the pot. So let's look briefly at where the opportunities are in the German market for companies providing energy efficiency solutions. So why Germany? I think firstly, the huge investments are being made in energy efficient solutions here. 73% of suppliers expect their customers to increase investment in the near future. And for more than a third of companies, energy efficiency is in itself a reason for investment, and not just something that's considered when purchasing new equipment. Secondly, Germany is by far the largest manufacturer in Europe. It's the largest in terms of GDP, and 30% of the gross value added to manufacturing in Europe is added in Germany. Companies looking to gain a foothold in the German market would do well to focus on SMEs, which dominate the German business landscape. You can see in the graph here that 98% of manufacturing companies in Germany are SMEs, and this means there's a huge and diverse array of potential clients. Indeed, focusing on industry makes sense in Germany, as industry uses more energy than all of the other sectors, more than households, more than transport, more than commerce, trade and services. So let's look at the focus. Let's focus on the energy used by industry, and you can see here, perhaps unsurprisingly, that mechanical energy uses nearly 40% of the energy, while heating and process heat make up the majority of the remainder. Cooling isn't such a large consumer here. Nevertheless, this graph shows where the lowest hanging fruit is to be found, namely in the area of lighting. And there are also potential savings to be found in compressed air, pumping, cooling, heating, and ventilation applications. Now, I'm going to have to fly past this graph, I'm afraid. It's a slightly more technical view of the potential savings that can be found, and I'm happy to send these slides to you if you'd like to look at these in more detail. Indeed, this potential matches where companies plan to or have already invested in energy efficiency. And here you can see the vast majority of actions have been in the areas of lighting, compressed air, and process heat and cooling. So which branches are making these investments? Well, you can see here that the food and fodder industry invested the most in 2013, namely 82 million euros, followed closely by paper and card at 72 million, and the automotive industry at 69 million. Metal, mechanical engineering, chemicals and electricals were also among the top investors. Excuse me. If you're producing energy efficient products in Germany, then you're in very good company and stand to benefit from the positive ecosystem here. As you can see in the graph, Germany is the world leading supplier for products for rational energy usage, ahead of both China and the USA. And that positive ecosystem includes support from the German government, which flanks efforts by companies based in Germany to access foreign markets through programs such as the Energy Efficiency Export Initiative that aims to support SMEs in particular. There's also a dense network of energy agencies, advisory services, information campaigns, and self-organized industry networks. So that's it from me. I hope I've been able to give you a broad understanding of where Germany is in terms of energy efficiency and where it wants to go. There's huge momentum in this area at the moment and a lot of political energy. And the outlook is really very bright for the sector. And now's a great time to be getting a foot in the door. And GTAI is here to help you if you decide that.
Great. Well, thank you, Robert. That was a sprint through 46 slides now. And what was it? There were two questions that came up in the chat. One was about, I think it was slide 10 that you, Klaus Jørgensen, referred to. It was a question about district energy, whether that was included in the figures. District energy being a very important issue in Denmark, which you are aware of. Denmark has the biggest network of district energy, and therefore also lots of technology for district energy.
Yeah, I expect it's there under energy efficiency buildings. I would have to go back to the source to check that, but I'm more than happy to investigate that and get some information back to the person in question. I expect it's there under energy efficiency building, energy efficient buildings. The Green Tech Atlas is a publication from the Ministry for Economic Affairs, if I'm not mistaken, and there's a more specific definition within that publication. So I'm happy to go and look at that and find out where district heating falls under.
Okay. That was Klaus Jørgensen. Klaus, you can always, of course, call Robert Compton in Berlin and have one-on-one talk there about your issue. And the other question was concerning lighting, I think, but maybe you have addressed that. You had one slide where you specifically talked about lighting.
I think here in purple you can see these figures are from 2013, and I've been trying to find more up-to-date figures. But you can see here these figures show that lighting, that there are huge savings potentials to be made there, and implemented actions according to 2013 from the DIHK, and also the DIHK show that lighting is
okay. Kenneth Peterson,
a lot of implemented action.
Kenneth Peterson, who has asked the question, says that's fine. He saw that, and same to you, Kenneth. You can always call GT Germany Trade and Invest in Berlin. Kirsten Winter says, all right, can you share more detailed information about the various incentives in writing afterwards? I don't know, Robert, is there any more information, or can you say a bit more about that right now?
Well, I would say please feel free to drop me an email, and I can send you through links to the various incentives that are available. There's a very wide range of different funding programs that are available. I think if you want an overview and you speak German, then going on Deutschland macht's effizient, the website, I think it's just that.de, and then click on for Unternehmen, for companies, then you can find pretty extensive listing of the funding that's available. And of course, GTAI, we have our own lists as well, and you're more than happy to get in touch, and I'll pass those on to you.
But we can, of course, we will send you participants an email with the presentations and add that website, that link for your convenience. So, are there any more questions here from our participants? If not, I think we will close our webinar soon. Thank you very much. Well, there's obviously, while I'm speaking, there is still the opportunity to ask a question through the chat. but it looks like nobody's typing. Then I would like to say thank you to Niels, who has left the webinar, and to Robert Compton of Germany Trade and Invest, and to the participants for taking part. As said, we will get back to you, send you the presentation and some additional information. Klaus Jørgensen, thank you for hosting. Well, thank you for taking part. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Robert.